But down from my African live from Deep Learning in Indaba. Unfortunately, today is the last day. It's a very sad day. It's a very sad day. Today is Friday. It's the last day of a week-long journey full of AI, machine learning, having AI researchers and engineers from all over the continent descending at the University of Kigali. But before we become depressed, I have a very interesting gentleman by the name of Dr. Sekou Remy. And Doctor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, Doc, let's start with your workshop and your presentation. What are the key 3 insights should we take from your workshop?
So let me reframe that a little bit. One, I'm just here to support the work that is being done. There have been a few workshops that I've been able to help people with. There was a robotics workshop. This is the third installation, I think. Really excited that the robotics community at Indaba is growing. There's also a health and AI workshop.
Yes.
Again, another repeat workshop. Really vibrant, really growing community.
100%. Well attended.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And there's so many other workshops. Yesterday there were so many happening at the same time that I would have loved to have been in.
Okay.
Across the board, the takeaway is people are interested. Another strong takeaway is that people are realizing that AI is a tool that can support development. And it's not just about a specific field or a specific domain. People are grappling with, okay, let me understand the technology. Let me understand what people have done with it. They understand their context. They understand their domain. Now it's a matter of how can I bring the tools that seem useful into context. Another thing that's really cool that's happening is that people are trying to figure out, okay, these are the tools that exist today, but what should exist tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Right? So it's really nice to see that happening in this Indaba community.
Dr. Sekou, I want to draw on your insights and on your experience. You've been in academia, you studied at Georgia Tech, you've worked in industry in America, you're currently based in Kenya. When you contrast, what's happening, in the global West versus what's happening on the continent of Africa, what are your key observations around this community that is Africa and our researchers and our engineers in the realm of AI? Are we on par? Is the infrastructure lagging? Is the skill there? Those key takeaways.
Yeah, that's the question that everybody's asking right now. But let me do one more thing. I'm also a graduate of Morehouse College.
Okay.
Also in Atlanta.
Morehouse, come on now.
But there's something I was reflecting on maybe a week or two ago. While at Morehouse, I had teachers from Ghana, Nigeria.
100%.
In addition to teachers from India.
100%.
In addition to others from the US.
100%.
Many schools in the US, but also across the globe, touch the diaspora in ways that people are not always conscious of or cognizant of. So I had the experience, both at Morehouse and at Georgia Tech, of being in a community. And that community was very intentional about what are we going to do. I was a very active member in the National Society of Black Engineers. It's national, but that's just a name. It's an international organization with chapters all over, just like Indaba.
Yes.
Well, the deep learning Indaba community. Let me be specific, because there are many Indabas, right? But there's an intentionality that I experienced there that I'm getting to see here as well. Now in this AI era. Yes, bar none, talent is here. People may claim, oh, we can't find talent. There is so much
There's a lot of talent on the continent.
Right? And there are a lot of people doing things that maybe it's hard to know. Like I'll never forget, maybe about a year into my time in Kenya, AI Kenya had an event, and somebody raised a question in the QA part of the session, and they were like, okay, this AI thing that you all are talking about is only for the city. It's only for Nairobi. AI is not being done in the rural areas where I am. And I smiled when that question was raised, because I was joining remotely from a rural area. Where I was with others working on AI in that setting. And it's not that, quote, we brought the AI there.
100%.
Right? It's hard to know where AI is being used.
100%.
And maybe that's a question that needs to be explored,
Uh-huh.
so that people can get a true appreciation for what's out there. Because, like, right, so I have a phone in my hand. Okay, this means that I have access to AI
Yes.
on device,
On
but
devices.
also have access to AI through the products generated with it. And it's kind of hard to talk about.
Yes.
But I think that the point that that person was making could have been that there are not enough people in those rural areas who understand AI and understand what it can do. And I think that that is a fair statement.
So and I know, I mean, you might or you might not have the answer, but how do we reverse that? How do we educate rural people? Because
Yeah.
I do a lot of education and training in rural spaces, and rural spaces are really difficult in the sense of literacy rates are
Yeah.
low. The appreciation of maths and science may not be as concentrated as in urban centers. How do we how do we show them how do we show themselves in AI?
So it takes intentionality.
Uh-huh.
But there was a speaker yesterday during one of the workshops, I think it might have been the AI and health workshop,
Uh-huh.
that challenged the audience
Yes.
because there was a perception that in the global north,
Uh-huh.
everybody knows AI, but in the global south, everybody doesn't.
Uh-huh.
And they actually challenged it in a really interesting way.
Uh-huh.
The global north is not homogenous.
Uh-huh.
There are places in the global north that are rural,
100%.
just like there are places that are urban. And
yeah.
some of the places that are rural in the global north
Uh-huh.
have the same type of challenges that are experienced in the global south.
Uh-huh.
But there's a perception that because it's other, theirs must be better,
Uh-huh.
right? So first, making sure that people are aware of what they do have,
Uh-huh.
right? It's really cool having conversations, and I'll pick Nigeria as an example because Nigerians are everywhere, right? We have to admit. Have you ever been to a country and never found?
Never.
But there's so many Nigerian students that I encounter that
Yes.
say that they don't have people to look up to.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay,
That's
well,
strange.
yeah.
That is very strange.
But in their setting, they're thinking of it as I am here in Nigeria, rural setting for them. But I'm like, I am certain there are people who went to your high school who have done exactly what you would like to do, who have been exposed, and maybe they're even breaking ground. But at a minimum, if any country should never have a problem with finding people who can resonate, Nigeria is definitely one of those places.
Dr. Sekou, I love the fact that you brought up Morehouse. I just came from the Atlanta University Center, a couple of weeks ago, and I need to ask this question. You rightly said, at Clark, at Morehouse, there's a lot of academia from Nigeria, Ghana, and all across the world. Do you not sort of maybe afraid, or should we be worried maybe of a brain drain?
Yeah.
From the continent, you find yourself all these brilliant minds that are coming from the continent, stem from the continent, and want to go lecture, AI, machine learning, robotics, reinforcement learning, and all these core fundamentals that empower the technology that we're currently talking about. Should we be worried about that brain drain? Or is there even a brain drain?
So there's lots of debates about this that have happened even at this event. I know that there are scholars who can even give you numbers. Is it a drain? Is it a cycle? Right? There's an element that there's a point of discussion that should happen around that. But let me go a different route. How many times has somebody, maybe they got their master's, got their PhD, and they left home to do that, and they tried to return home to get a job, and within a year, within 2 years, they're back out.
They're back out.
Right.
100%.
I'm sure that you can find many examples of people who would describe that they've been frustrated either by the institutions, by the opportunities, by not understanding how they can
Penetrate.
right. So there is something like that to think about. But on the flip side, I'll also say there is a lot, right? There is a lot that is currently happening. There are a lot of people. So whether it's a Kenyan who's working in South Africa or a Rwandese who's working in Ghana, there are people moving within Africa. We're just not aware of it. Africa is massive. So it's
Africa's
very
huge.
hard to know everything that's going on everywhere.
100%.
But there was a a community, I think it's called like Space Africa.
Okay.
Right? I stumbled on one of their workshops in Nairobi. Got to find out about a very vibrant space community in Kigali.
In Kigali.
And I'd never heard of it. As many times as I've been to Kigali, as I don't live that far away,
Yeah.
but I'd never heard about it. And then I came to find out that there were even many Kenyans who came to Kigali to work in that industry, right? It's very hard to know everything. So it's very easy to assume that, oh, brain drain, that means that one place is losing talent and another place is gaining. And normally it's the assumption that it's the West or it's the global North. But I think with a bit of intentionality, we can still take advantage of those things. Now you can say, I have an uncle or I have a cousin or I know somebody who understands my language that I can speak to, whether it's in Antwerp or in Idaho. There is somebody that you can relate with who can be there with you, right? I'll give you one more point on this. My first drink of Kenyan tea from a Kenyan home was not in Kenya.
Wow.
It was in Oklahoma.
It was in Oklahoma, right?
Right. I had not even Kenya on my radar, but that entry point into a culture that I wasn't even expecting just came by surprise, right? But it was a proper Kenyan home that I had the opportunity to visit in Oklahoma, right? I think that we have to remember that there is a diaspora, and while it may sometimes be hard to identify, when people are moving around this globe, people do retain connections. They
100%.
do retain community.
100%.
So the brain drain, let's not think about it negatively. Let's just figure out how to capitalize on the fact that people move.
Doc, I want us to demystify certain aspects about AI and machine learning. There are certain quarters of society that are really skeptical about artificial intelligence and machine learning. They speak about jobs are going to be taken over. They Terminator style. Like Skynet is going to take over everything. How do we reaffirm society that indeed this technology is good, we need it, it's a tool, it's the evolution of civilization?
Yeah. So that's that question. Technology is the evolution of civilization.
Yeah.
All right. So do you know who wrote the book that then became The Matrix?
No, I forgot it.
Okay, I'll give you that homework.
Okay, got you,
all right?
got you.
Matrix, Terminator, same story.
Yeah.
Different directions. There's a narrative at play that brilliant author, that story was turned into a screenplay that we all have experienced. But what I loved about that idea is that somebody was playing with these concepts. Right? And she's not the first to play with these concepts, right? We're still trying to understand, what does technology mean? How will it transform? What are the negative or unintended consequences? Right? So these are things that I'm happy that people are thinking about, right? In the presence of that is, like, it's something that we should not discount. Like, we have to be aware, what are the implications if we are asking people, like I've met some students here that said that they wanted to do, and they wanted a startup to do annotations for machine learning models. And I was like, okay, well, I hope that they are aware that this is a very hot button topic and there are many implications that they need to consider. How are they going to protect their future employees? Right? Annotation is not just blindly putting dots on an image or highlighting certain text. That means that you now have to think about the mindset of these individuals who will work for you as they create the data that are needed for machine learning models. But there is a lot that we have to unpack, and it's not just the math, or it's not just the computing, it's not just the engineering, right? There's a lot of psychology, there's a lot of sociology, there's a lot of anthropology that must be put to bear on these things.
I love the fact that you said that.
Yeah.
Because I think we're not looking into the anthropology and the social sciences around the technology.
Well, I mean, you put the question out there, right? Is this the evolution of... Well, that's a real question. And maybe we think about it in terms of science fiction, but many who are putting these things into that format are really trying to grapple with the what if. right? So Asimov is known for the what if robots had, let's say, 3 rules. And then there's a 4th rule, the 0th rule, right? How might that rule influence how a robot might interact with a human being? I'm happy that people were thinking about this. I wish that there were more people in the contemporary setting that would engage with it, like the author of that book that you will go do some homework on.
No, definitely. I think I've seen it somewhere on YouTube. There was a review on The Matrix, and I know the 2 brothers that did The Matrix, but so the book was mentioned somewhere there. I just got to go back. I
They
actually
did
need to
the
read that book.
screenplay. My understanding is that they did the screenplay.
Oh, yeah, they did the screenplay. Yeah,
right.
but there's a book on it, definitely.
Yeah.
Doc, lastly, I like the fact that you said let's have conversations and these ifs, trying to answer these ifs. What do you believe is overly hyped in AI right now and is not necessarily a thing? It's just a lot of smoke, it's just a lot of noise, but really, there's nothing there.
I don't think I'd be in a position to answer that question about if there's nothing there. But what I can speak to is that there are things that people are talking about that they don't fully understand. And if you're talking about something that you don't fully understand, then it might be really easy for you to talk about something that's not real or not there. Right? There is a lot out there.
Too much.
There's also a lot that we don't know.
100%.
There's a lot that requires study that we need to be intentional about exploring. But we also have to understand what kind of claims are defensible. Somebody says, oh, these models are undergraduate level performance. Okay. How do you back that claim up? Oh, this model can now outperform doctors. Okay, what does that mean?
What's the matrix?
Right? What does that mean? Because some people may hear that and then they take that and go in a direction that may not be grounded in what you actually intended
100%.
or what is provable or knowable.
100%.
Right? So we're in a space now where more than ever, because things are moving so quickly, right? Things progress quickly, but also people hear about things quickly. So things, generally speaking, things move quickly. And maybe the perception of something defines somebody's experience of it. And they make a decision based on their perception. And their perception may not actually be what is. Right? That's true for, people judging each other, but it's also true for people's making decisions on AI policy based on their understanding of what AI is, how AI works. But I think there's a lot that we have to figure out very quickly. And I can't say, going back to the front of your question, is it overhyped? Are there things that are overhyped? It'll be hard to answer that question.
It'll be hard to answer that question, yeah. Doc, I have to ask this before I leave. I know I said lastly, but this is my second lastly question. Because you brought it up, the policy issue. You've been on the continent. You're in the space of AI machine learning. You've taught. High level, the African Union is having these conversations like any other person. What should the continent, from a policy perspective, should be looking at? What areas should we be focusing on? This is from a policy perspective that are distinctly African. I think sometimes we tend to borrow fears or take fears of other sort of continents. But what's the African priority? I think if you can just share those as you are operating in the space on the continent from a policy direction, what should we be more focused on for the benefit of the African
So
ecosystem?
there's a
in
lot
AI?
of energy right now around AI policy for African countries. And the dust is far from anywhere close to settling, right? What I can say is that it's important that African countries engage their populations, right? The users, the individuals, the people need to actually be front and center and part of this conversation. There needs to be proper, thorough engagement. I hear so many times, even on the stage here, there was a representative from the AU
I remember.
asking, how many of you in this audience have actually given feedback about your national AI strategy? And there were people who were, thankfully, right?
But it's not enough.
It will never be
It
enough.
will never be enough.
But there needs to be intentionality around creating the opportunities for people to, right? One of the first papers I worked on after joining IBM Research was this paper around the notion of, okay, what policies have something to say about data and AI in healthcare in Kenya? And that paper, it was a really interesting one. There was a community that I happened to engage with, and we ran down this path. And in Kenya at that time, we found that there were maybe 10 or 12 documents that said something, but many of those documents didn't actually line up with themselves. Work has been done since then, but we have to be intentional about understanding, okay, well, what are the documents that are needed? Who are the users or the consumers of these documents? Will they be able to actually implement them? Will they be able to understand them? Right? I use Kenya as an example just because there was a paper that was worked on in that frame. But this is an ongoing journey, and AI changes.
100%.
Right? So we need to ensure that communities like the Deep Learning Indaba community, but also Data Science Nigeria, shout out to DSN, right? All of these communities need to come together to ensure that their policymakers understand what's really happening and are not just swayed by the hype or not just swayed by what's in the news today, right? We need to have conversations in country. We need to have conversations with people from other places, right? And to do that, we have to build bridges and use those bridges.
From Morehouse to Georgia Tech, now in Kenya. Doctor, thank you so much for your wisdom. Thank you for your insights. We're definitely going to keep following you, tracking you. I think there's a lot to cover, especially in Kenya. Give us an invitation. We'll be coming to Kenya.
Look forward to it.
Thank you very much.